Hello, my friends. I am Shannon and I'm so excited to be a part of Christmas in July for Scrapbook.com. I'm going to use this gingerbread 6x8 pattern collection. It is full of these bright limey colors. I'm going to use a shape dies. I love this peppermint forest stencil. It's a two-part. Now I have these other pieces on standby, but I'm not going to end up using the stamps or the dies because I was able to put this together so quickly with very little product. It was so fun to do this. So let's start with the stencil. Like I said, this is a two-part stencil, and I'm going to loosely use the pine trees or Christmas trees, whichever way you want to think about them. And I'm going to use two colors of Distress Oxide, and that's going to give me just a little bit more interest. You might not even see at first glance that there's two colors, but I will be using two, and I'm not going to be putting them on absolutely perfectly because I don't line things up perfectly. I'm going to use my fab little Scrapbook.com little daubers, and I have a napkin next to me to dab them off slightly. I want the color on, but I want it to be just a little bit distressed. And if I went in with full, dauber worth of ink, sometimes I get just a little bit too much ink on there. So this is my way of being able to control how much ink I have on. Now, I'm not filling in every single little empty space here because I know I want to come in with a second color of green. So I am very quickly just popping bits on here and there. Now, I went against my advice and went right in with the ink, and I actually put a little bit too much on in a couple of places. We're not going to see that in the finished layout because I'm going to have a really sweet photo as well as little fussy cut pieces that we use and all that kind of thing. So it will go on just fine. And look at that. Do you see how you get a slight variation in color? I think it's so much more interesting. Now the second part of this stencil has these little blips. There's like little stars and little twinkly bits, and you can have those go in between the trees or as tree toppers. And I chose to do random little tree toppers. I think it's super sweet and so cute. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to run some of these shape dies through my Spellbinders manual cutter, and I love these little gingerbread people. I think they're the cutest things. You have the face there, the little squiggly icing bits. It's so darn cute. Now I also grabbed a smooth cardstock 6x8 pad because I wanted to have a nice bright green show up right on top of that gingerbread color. And you guys, they cut like butter. I mean, they cut so well, I couldn't believe it. I have all kinds of little bow ties there for my gingerbread, my little gingerbread girls. They have a little bow, and the gingerbread boys have these little Santa caps. It's so darn cute. All right, so here's a bunch of these pieces finished. I did learn a lot about what worked best for me when I was production lining all these little people. Now, the next thing I'm going to also do is I want to cut out some of these pieces to layer them up. I love that look of a lot of layered embellishment. So I'm not going to make you watch that, but I will be fussy cutting out all kinds of those bits with my scissors here. Now, these are some things I learned. I learned that I needed way more cuts of the little dots and the icing bits than I thought. I kept losing them. So it's so much easier to cut way more in the beginning using, do you see that little bit with the smileys and the little dots? It's so much easier to cut way more than you think you need. And then when you're putting them together, you can just go doot, 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 like nothing. But didn't they come together so well? I thought they were the cutest things. Okay, let's get back to it. So I'm looking at how I want to mat my photo, and I don't like to waste paper. So if I have a spot like on that green smooth cardstock that I can put my photo right over, I will. And who's going to see it? Only you and I will know. All right, so this is together. I used some of my fab strips. I love my double-sided foam adhesive strips. And I find it to be so easy to just pop a bunch together, and it creates a great platform, and then we can get those pieces stuck down. I do this all the time and it works like a charm. Now, the only thing I'm really concerned about being straight on this layout is my photo. So I grab my trusty T-square ruler and pop that on. Now, these little bits here, this title has this nice textural dimension, and I really want it to stand out. So that's going to be front and center. I'm going to grab more of my foam strips and do that same technique where I have them layered up just a little bit. And not layered up, they're just side by side. Maybe that's a better way to put it. They're side by side and it works like a charm. So we're gonna pop those right front and center, and then we get to start layering up all of our little gingerbread pieces and our gingerbread cookie. I guess a gingerbread people are actually cookies. Anywho, of the little bits that I fussy cut out. And I think, guys, doesn't this title look so cute on the photo? I'm excited. Do you see my little hands doing the wiggle? That's when you know we are getting excited. So now it's time to start putting our little people on, as well as our embellishments. And I'm going to layer them up. I'm going to tuck them beneath, and it's gonna give me a little bit of a shadow. And you guys, it adds so much to the layout. It makes it so much more interesting when you see different depths. So here I'm like, you know what? Now it's time to have something just right on the background. So that's what we're going to do there. Of course, I'm going to grab my favorite dry adhesive from Scrapbook.com. I love the bigger roller because I don't have to refill it as much. I love to just keep going when I'm in the flow. All right, so let's go ahead and get this gingerbread little boy person right about equal to where the girl is, and then they can be on the wonk as much as we want from that point. So I've got a nice little gingerbread house. I've got the little jars, a little snowflake looking little cookie. And these were all just from that gingerbread 6x8 pattern paper collection. They're the best bits that you can fussy cut out from papers. It's one of my favorite ways to stretch supplies and be a little bit more economical when you need to, is if you have these great pattern papers or cut aparts, absolutely use them. I think it is just so fun to see how much I can get out of a project using that technique. All right, let's move my cookie around a little bit. Is this where I want it? Because I want it to be pretty darn balanced. Now, you see here I've got some fab pops of color. I've got Rudolph Red, Key Lime, and Champagne. And Champagne gives us that nice little bit of sparkle that we love for the holidays. So I'm going to go ahead and pop them on in a few places. Now I've got my green, my Champagne, and now I'm gonna just go ahead with the Rudolph Red. I always like to give it a quick trial run on a scrap piece of paper to make sure that it's flowing. And if you get that little like ice cream top on the top of them, you can just go ahead and flick it from the back and it smooths out into that nice round little bubble that mimics an enamel dot so well. I mean, there's so many things you can do with pops of color, but that's the way I'm playing with it on this layout. And just like that, with just a few dots, it brings it together. It keeps it, so interesting to have these bright, bright colors. What you see I'm doing there is I'm just beefing up some of my enamel dots just a little bit more, and I just add wet into wet with my pops of color. And isn't it just so stinking cute to document this photo of my girl and her fiance? I've got mixed media, I've got fussy cut bits, and pieces I used with dies, guys, and you can customize these little gingerbread people to your heart's content. So thank you guys so much for having me. I had a blast creating this project with you. I had so much fun, and here are some still shots. I sincerely hope you had fun watching me create this project, and I would love to see if you create one just like this. Reach out to me on the socials. I cannot wait to see what you guys all come up with. Bye for now, my friends.